Welcome everybody to San Francisco. Today we are here at Pier 1, and basically the reason why I'm here today is because we're going to be going on a little bit of an adventure. Today we're going to be going to Angel Island. I've got my bike right here. My friend gave me this bike to take around the island. I'm at Pier 1 right now because we're going to be catching a ferry to Angel Island. So that's actually how you get there. And it's a pretty remote island, like not many people go to it really. At least from what I've seen on the internet, it's kind of like, it's not up there with the top things to do in San Francisco. So it's kind of something a bit different, something a bit hidden, but it's got a lot of history, a lot of abandoned structures. We got a boat coming up here. Now, I don't believe that's the ferry that I'm going to be catching. Okay, so a bit of context on where I'm actually going. Angel Island was once a military base, and it was later an immigration station known as the Ellis Island of the West, where over 500,000 immigrants, mainly from Asia, were processed, and many of them actually faced quite harsh conditions and long detentions. Today it's a state park offering breathtaking views of San Francisco skyline, but its past tells a story of resilience and hope. So I guess let's dive into its history and see what it's become. So as I travel through the island, I'm going to try and give a bit of history and context to the actual places that I visit and the actual buildings that I see. If you guys are planning on going yourselves, whoever's watching this video, if you're planning on going to Angel Island, I recommend bringing a bike. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be the rundown of what I'm going to be doing. So right now I'm going to actually head to the pier where I've got to catch the ferry because it literally leaves in like 15 minutes. So I haven't got a lot of time and I definitely cannot miss this ferry. As you can see there, that is pretty much the ferry that I've got to catch right now. So I've got to make my way over there now so I don't miss it. Right, we're heading to the ferry now. I've got to rush because I'm pretty sure it leaves very soon, and if I miss this, I got to wait a few hours, and I definitely don't want to do that. On the boat right now. I wasn't actually sure if my card was going to work because some people had tickets and I didn't know if you could just scan your, it's called a clipper card. I didn't know if you could just scan your clipper card, so we're on now. Okay, so I think we're going now. So throughout the ride, there's going to be like lots of scenic views. So I'll be sure to capture all that. We've got some people kayaking in the distance. The journey is going to be around 30 to 40 minutes to Angel Island. As you can see, you've got the San Francisco skyline in the back. What a view that is. Well, you got Alcatraz just there in front. We got the Bay Bridge. So yeah, as I was saying, it's going to be around 30 to 40 minutes till I actually get to Angel Island. That's how long the boat ride is. But yeah, overall, if you do end up going to Angel Island, you will see some nice scenic views throughout the journey. So far, pretty smooth journey, not many waves. You got Alcatraz just there. Just a recommendation, if you do end up going to Angel Island, I recommend getting on the ferry as quick as possible because it gets packed pretty quickly. believe we are now approaching. So honestly, that went really quick. That didn't even feel like 30 minutes. That felt like 15 minutes. Maybe it was 30 minutes. But I believe we are approaching right now. That definitely has to be the island. Alright, it's time to hop off. Welcome everybody to Angel Island. I think this is the route. Welcome everybody to Angel Island. This was overall not a long trip at all on the ferry. Gotta make sure to watch where I'm going so I don't crash. Yeah, so this is Angel Island. Overall, 30-minute ferry ride from San Francisco Bay. And on this island, there's a lot of history. So it used to be a base during World War I to protect the Bay Area. And it was also then turned to an immigration station where there's been lots of mainly Asians who were treated very poorly. There's lots of like leftover ruins and sites that you can visit. I pretty much picked Angel Island because not a lot of people have actually heard of it. Like Angel Island is kind of lesser known, especially its history. Not a lot of people know about it. Maybe people from San Francisco do, but I never knew about it. With Angel Island, it only has a limited amount of ferries. So there's literally, we've got one in a few hours and then one a few hours after that, that leaves the actual island to go back to San Francisco. So if I miss the last ferry, I literally have to camp here overnight. I did not bring any gear for camping. Honestly, it's a really good workout as well. Stop here for a little bit, take in the view. So before Europeans arrived, Angel Island was home to the Coast Miwok people. So they lived here for thousands of years and they used the island's resources for food and shelter. They fished, hunted and gathered, building a deep connection to the land that we still honor today. So basically in 1775, Spanish explorer Juan Manuel de Ayala found the island and named it Isla de los Angeles, which means Island of the Angels, and its spot made a key landmark for sailors navigating the bay. In the 19th century, Angel Island became important for the military, so the US Army built Fort McDowell in 1900 to protect San Francisco Bay. It played a big role during World War I and II, and you can still see the remnants of these military sites around the island, which tell the story of its past. So I'm definitely gonna try and find some of those remnants today. Just taking this view. If you live near or around or in the Bay Area and you just want some peace and quiet, I don't know, from what I can tell, this is a good place to definitely come down, visit, ride your bike and be with nature. Let's keep moving. The scenery on this island is beautiful. Like the view you get, just the peace and quiet, like just riding down these hills here. It's just so nice. Let's board it up. Right now we're going to visit the detention barracks, see how that one looks. So you've got the detention barracks just down there. There's a lot of people down that way, so let's go to the detention barracks and see what that's all about. As I was saying, I'm pretty sure the US Immigration Center is also located here. Let's go check out the hospital monument. A bit of context and history of the actual hospital. So looks like if the patients had a contagious but it was treatable disease, they were sent to these hospitals here. Here we can see what they looked like. Looks like they got a paint job very recently, to be honest. Let's go around. Even today, it's easier to immigrate if you have more money. Why do you think money makes a difference? Because money speaks lots of languages. The reality of the world. Angel Island represents the complex history of immigrants who came to the US across the Pacific Ocean or through the southern border. Many immigrants came during periods of exclusion, others came when reforms led to greater opportunities. All came with the dreams of a better life. This map here pretty much shows the top 10 countries of birth for immigrants who obtained permanent residency in the US in 1960 compared to 2018. So here we got 1960 and then 2018. The dramatic shift shows and highlights how the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 laid the groundwork for a more diverse population in the US today. It's very interesting actually to learn about the history of this, not only just this island, but the whole immigration situation in the US. It's like there's some tools used by these scientists. We got lost masks were gathered at Angel Island State Park during COVID-19 pandemic quite recently. The hospital at the Angel Island Immigration Station was not adequately designed, funded, or staffed to even care for the immigrants who admitted here between 1910 and 1940. So it says here that immigrant-owned small businesses significantly contribute to the US economy, so they revitalize neighborhoods in cities and rural areas, and they increase the nation's prosperity. So as it says right here, in 2007, immigrant-owned small businesses employed 4.7 million people and generated $776 billion in receipts. And it says right here, immigrants have actually started more than half of America's startup companies, valued at $1 billion or more. The 91 companies valued more than $1 billion, 31 were started by immigrants in the Bay Area, so the area right here, and another 19 were started by immigrants somewhere else in the US. I think we're gonna head out now. I think a key takeaway for me, at least, one that really sticks in my head, is that statistic where there's over half of the US businesses valued over $1 billion were actually made by or started up by immigrants. Immigrants have definitely, in a very positive way, contributed to the US. I believe this was the immigration station right here. This here looks like the sleeping conditions that they had. As soon as this station opened in 1910, Chinese immigrants began carving poetry on the interior walls of the detention barracks.
It ended up being like a varsity run.
Looks like this is the kitchen that they used to give the immigrants food. I'm not sure if you can tell on camera, but these beds are tiny. So that was it. That was the Barracks and Immigration Center on Angel Island. Immigrants immigrants that were processed on Angel Island came to the United States for many reasons. Many saw the United States as a place for a better life, not just for themselves, but for future generations. All right, that was the immigration station. As we saw, living conditions were crowded, ventilation was poor, and the restrooms were filthy. The barracks were loaded with rows of these multi-tiered bunks. So in 1910, the immigration station was moved from San Francisco waterfront to where I am right now in Angel Island. So like Ellis Island in New York, Angel Island offered an isolated location that could be tightly controlled. Unlike Ellis Island, Angel Island came to symbolize discrimination and exclusion instead of welcome. After a long ocean voyage, an immigrant's first steps into US soil were on a wharf leading to the immigration station. They were soon immersed in unfamiliar surroundings, a foreign language, new customs, and an uncertain fate. So pretty much the immigrants, after a long, think about it, you're from somewhere in Asia or Europe, just crossed the ocean, you've taken this long trip, I don't know how long it would have been, and this is the first thing that you're met with after that long journey. That was their first impressions of the United States. Really puts it all into perspective. Like the hospital wasn't even fit to help really. It was understaffed, underfunded. That was the reality if you were an immigrant back in those times. I'm gonna head out now and don't know the next spot that I'm heading to, but I forgot what it was called. Gonna hike up, find the bike, and keep riding to the next spot. A last little overview, immigration station was there from 1910 to 1940. It processed thousands of immigrants, especially from Asia. Many faced long waits and tough conditions. Their stories are reflected in the poetry on the walls of the detention barracks, showing the challenges they faced in search of a new life in America. Let's get back on the bike and continue our little journey. I believe right there in front is Fort McDowell. Dowell, I don't know how to pronounce it. Fort McDowell North. Just picture this spot a century ago. You can hear raised voices and the crunch of boots as soldiers drill. Fort McDowell was first used to quarantine soldiers returning from the Philippines during the Spanish-American War, and in later years it served as a discharge and recruit depot, and by 1900 the fort had become the center of island military activity. So the peak of the activity occurred during World War II, where thousands of troops were sent to battle from here. The fort processed men on special assignments. It says here Angel Island was known as the Soldier Factory during World War I. So many soldiers who came through here were replacement troops for units already fighting in the Pacific, and the busiest week, it says, for Fort McDowell was in December 1945. So that was when 9,555 troops were discharged so they could get home in time for Christmas. So this busy military hub originally contained dozens of buildings. Some are maintained and in use, several have been demolished, and others are gradually falling into decay in the salty ocean. Around the now deserted fort, look for clues linking its past and present, such as a soldier's name carved in a wall. Stand between the post exchange and the mess hall and imagine lining up there with 1,499 other people waiting for your dinner. Let's go exploring this Fort McDowell. All right, where should we go? We'll go all the way around and then I guess we'll come through. This is the Fort McDowell, I guess. It looks like there's plenty of places to go into actually. Torture Station. It's kind of like exploring a old abandoned building. I mean, I guess that's what it is, but quite cool actually. It's not all boarded up, you know. It's quite cool that you can just come here, walk around, and actually go inside the building. They've just kind of left it as it is. And I'm glad it hasn't been completely destroyed as well. Maybe they probably maintain it. This could have been a lot worse off. Go Giants. What? You could definitely climb up there. This is really cool actually. Let's go upstairs. I had a few people just stack on each other's shoulders and just climb up. I'm enjoying right now, just walking through the old building that was Fort McDowell. These soldiers, they were fighting for a reason. Whether you believe the reason was good or bad, they were changing the course of history in a war. But look, it's literally 3 stories. Yeah, so this is it, I guess. This is the Fort McDowell. Dole, I'm not too sure how to pronounce it. This is it. So this chapel ministered to soldiers of all faiths. Built in 1942 in a style similar to other military chapels, it features a vaulted ceiling and fiberboard walls to enhance acoustics. That's the chapel right there. Just look at that. Look how cool that looks. So a bit of a last minute overview of Fort McDowell. It was established in 1900. Fort McDowell served as a part of the US coastal defense system and it played a key role in the Spanish-American War and World War I. I assume these are old forts. So the Post Exchange, or PX, was built in 1910 to be a one-stop shopping place for soldiers at Fort McDowell. Soldiers purchased clothing, toiletries, and other supplies here. The PX also offered a restaurant, soda fountain, barbershop, tap room with beer on tap, and during World War I, a bowling alley and gymnasium. Photos of that. This is where looks like they did a lot of recreation and shopping in these buildings. Kind of like a little shopping district or city for just the soldiers specifically on the island. By World War II, Fort McDowell had quarters for about 4,500 soldiers, including 14 additional wooden barracks for that once stood between the baseball field and the 600-man barracks. So this is the barracks right here. 60 soldiers could sleep in each building. Other barracks were located at North Garrison and West Garrison. So as soldiers arrived at Fort McDowell, they were issued uniforms and equipment from the quartermaster department operating under the director of supply. The post engineer's office, located by the water, planned new buildings and mapped the post's utilities. The motor pool serviced the Army's vehicles.
They like to group together like that.
I'm only now realizing there is so much to explore on this island that I'm not too sure if I'm going to actually get to do everything. And we've got a beautiful view here. We've got what looks like a ferry, probably going back to San Francisco Bay. What a view this is. Angel Island really is a hidden paradise in San Francisco. It's really beautiful. Look at all the people out on their boats over there. I believe here is where the soldiers slept. I believe that's what it said. This is where they housed them. A lot of different fenced off buildings. There's literally too much to explore here. I never thought that would be a problem, but today it may be a problem. Got the Bay Bridge there, Alcatraz there, the skyline of the city, and the Golden Gate Bridge. What a view. Technological advances during World War II brought new threats to the Bay Area. Traditional weapons were useless against new, fast, high-flying jet planes. This need for a better anti-aircraft defense led to Project Nike, a last-ditch line of air defense. The sight before you is a concrete reminder of the fear people felt during the Cold War. Do you think these missiles eased those fears? How are things similar or different in our country now? And the missiles were named for Nike, the winged goddess of victory in Greek mythology. So these Nike missile sites were constructed in defense rings around large cities and in other strategic military locations. So the sense of urgency grew in 1953 when the Soviet Union developed long-range bombers that had the capability to drop nuclear warheads on the continental United States. Although the Army had left Angel Island in 1946, it returned in 1954 to build a Nike missile site. The missiles weren't armed with nuclear warheads, but were meant to shoot down planes carrying nuclear weapons. Doesn't get much better than this. Got a big ship coming down there. You've just got millions of people out there in the Bay Area, and then you come here and you're just secluded by yourself pretty much. You're just in the middle of it here in Angel Island. Probably the quietest area you're gonna get. It's just dead quiet. It's just a nice little getaway from the hustle and bustle of the city. See what else we can find along the way, but I'm not sure if there's much left, so I'm just gonna follow this loop trail back to the ferry terminal. Now this looks like something from Vegas or something, I don't know. Looks like I'm in the desert right now. This road is closed, it says. I'd say probably the best part about this island is just riding your bike around. It's so peaceful to just ride a bike along the trail, like got some old little structure here. I'm not sure what that is. Looks like water thing? I don't know. There's a sign. So it says, in 1931, the Army built this rock crusher to sort and crush serpentine rock from the nearby quarry. So the crushed rock was used to pave the roads on Angel Island. The roads were not paved until the 1930s because the Army was still using mules and dirt was gentler on their hooves. So I guess this is how they made the path. This is life right here. Some old little building there. Looks like down there, maybe, I believe, where the campgrounds are. Another pretty old building there. Looks like it was a hospital. Just come across a hospital, old hospital. Yeah, there's no way to get in it. Completely boarded it off. As it was saying, I think it was 1903, I'll have a look again, but Yeah, it was an old hospital to treat wounded soldiers. So this brick hospital, built in 1904, was the third hospital to be built for Camp Reynolds. The Army located hospitals treating ill or injured soldiers away from buildings, housing healthy troops to prevent the spread of disease and fear. So yeah, I wasn't actually expecting to come across a hospital. As it was saying, the reason why it's so isolated was so it could keep the soldiers away from the living quarters and stuff to prevent spreading diseases and illnesses, and also to just stop the fear. Yeah, so that's a little bit why the hospital was just so isolated from everything else on this island. All right, everybody, I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up for Angel Island. Overall, amazing trip. I'm gonna head down now to the ferry and pretty much head back to San Francisco. Just at the ferry terminal, I'm gonna catch a ferry back to San Francisco, and I think that's gonna pretty much wrap up Angel Island. Overall, great experience. I enjoyed it a lot. Learned a lot as well. Saw some cool historical landmarks, learned about the history of the island, learned about some US history as well. Got a good workout in as well, and I just went into a spider web. And here, everybody, is where we started off the journey. So we've just done a massive loop around the island. Right now, guys, we're gonna wait for the ferry to come and take us back to San Francisco. Got this little coin. Now I'm gonna find somewhere to sit, relax, sit down, and wait for the ferry. There it is right there, actually. Just as I was saying that, the ferry has arrived. We are heading on the boat now. We are now leaving Angel Island. We are now approaching San Francisco, so it was a pretty short ride. Alright, overall, great trip. I'm back where I started the video, and I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Overall, learned a lot. Great experience. Definitely recommend. Latest.